We are now nearly a week into the unrest here in Los Angeles, and it shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon.
I just got here from another march.
And in fact, it has now spread to numerous other metropolitan areas of the U.S. where communities similarly feel that what ICE is doing is brutal, inhumane, illegal, and objectively making things less safe for everyone. And they're letting ICE know that their modern-day Gestapo operation is not welcome, and deploying the U.S. military to support ICE is especially not welcome.
No.
We simply can't cover everything that's happening here and elsewhere, and we really can't do it in an up-to-the-minute way. But we can try our best to cut through some of the noise and maybe give you a better idea of what's happening and what this is all about.
Simply put, this is an actual invasion, which is the word Trump and his allies frequently use to describe the presence of undocumented people in this country. But in this case, it's not a hysterical lie and is, in fact, an accurate description of what's happening. Against the wishes of state and local leaders, the U.S. military has been deployed domestically against citizens and residents of this country for simply exercising their First Amendment rights. It's tyranny, plain and simple. Yes, there's been some looting and property damage, primarily at night when most of the protesters have actually already gone home. But so far, it's nothing even approaching the levels seen during previous periods of unrest or celebration. Remember when the Eagles won the Super Bowl a couple months ago?
Yeah, well.
So, of course, deployment of troops wasn't seen as even remotely necessary during this time.
I remember the Marines and National Guard going to Philly to put down.
All they do is grease up the poles and say, have fun.
Yeah. Aside from locals bravely turning out in response to ICE raids in various parts of greater LA, the protests have almost exclusively taken place in an area near the Federal Detention Center that you can conservatively measure at roughly 4 city blocks, or I don't know, maybe a square quarter mile if you want to be really generous, but it's tiny, like literally a single pixel on a city map.
Probably smaller than your local Walmart and its parking lot. I would say that that's a pretty good description of the area.
There's some pretty big Walmarts out there.
There are.
They really, really want you to believe that Los Angeles has descended into lawlessness and unrest when the average person just half a mile from where this is all going down would have no idea anything out of the ordinary was happening, if not for alerts on their phones Tuesday night telling them that the entire downtown LA area was being put under mandatory curfew.
When I left the march today, which was crazy, I'll talk about it later, I was on my way and just saw at Historic Park, very close to where everything was, people just out walking their dogs, flying kites. You would have no idea that anything was happening.
So yeah, this troop deployment is costing $134 million, by the way, and that's by the Pentagon's own estimates. In case you were looking for some government waste to cut down on.
Yeah, and they're positioning this as like, look at what the citizens of LA are making us pay for. Instead, it's like, no, I don't think you really had to spend that money at all. So, meanwhile, the president is actively threatening to arrest the governor of California, and uniformed U.S. Marines are booing Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass during a Trump speech.
Gavin Newsom he's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
In Los Angeles, the governor of California, the mayor of Los Angeles.
So, yeah, anyone who ever whined about states' rights or federal overreach who isn't loudly against this shit is just a massive fucking hypocrite. And yeah, it's not like we've never booed our mayor or our governor, but in this case, they're both actually correct. And this is an unacceptable, unprecedented, and entirely unnecessary infringement on local and state sovereignty. Newsom and Bass haven't exactly risen to the occasion here, but Gavin Newsom's video address Tuesday night was mostly pretty great at laying out what's actually happening here and not mincing too many words.
We're seeing unmarked cars in school parking lots, kids afraid of attending their own graduation. Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength. Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities. They're traumatizing our communities. And that seems to be the entire point. If some of us could be snatched off the streets without a warrant, based only on suspicion or skin color, then none of us are safe. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people who are least able to defend themselves, but they do not stop there. Trump and his loyalists, they thrive on division because it allows them to take more power and exert even more control. And by the way, Trump, he's not opposed to lawlessness and violence as long as it serves him. What more evidence do we need than January 6th? This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived. He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project. 3 co-equal branches of independent government. There are no longer any checks and balances. Congress is nowhere to be found. Speaker Johnson has completely abdicated that responsibility. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don. The founding fathers, they didn't live and die to see this kind of moment. It's time for all of us to stand up. Justice Brandeis, he said it best. In a democracy, the most important office, with all due respect, Mr. President, is not the presidency, and it's certainly not governor. The most important office is office of citizen. At this moment, we all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your First Amendment rights, please do it peacefully. I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear, but I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
Don't give him too much credit, though. He has spent the past couple months leading up to this breaking bread with the likes of Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, trying to find middle ground with the people responsible for what is happening.
I hope he's learned.
His most recent podcast guest was Dr. Phil, who has literally this week been tagging along with ICE raids in LA while they're conducting raids all over the place and tearing babies from their mothers and pulling people out of their jobs.
Just standing there like a bald M&M, just watching it all go down.
What a fucking piece of shit. But thank you, Gavin. More of this from this week and less of all that podcast bullshit.
Yes.
Please.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I hope that he learned that it does not matter if you invite conservative or alt-right voices onto your podcast. They don't give a fuck. They're using you for the opportunity to spread their message.
It sucks that, it has to reach this point for you to realize that there's no, you can't compromise with a fascist.
Just look at Charlie Kirk's fucking tweets over the past week. Gavin, shut up. Don't talk to them.
Meanwhile, Mayor Karen Bass held a press conference Wednesday alongside dozens of mayors of many, many other LA County cities, and it was similarly pretty refreshing. Here's ABC 7. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass on Wednesday stood alongside several other Southern California mayors to call for the end to ICE raids across Southern California. Bass was joined by more than 30 other mayors of cities across the region, including Paramount, Southgate, and Huntington Park, as she made her remarks. A week ago, everything was peaceful in the city of Los Angeles, and in their cities as well. Things began to be difficult on Friday when raids took place, Bass said during a press conference. The mayor suggested that was the cause of the unrest that has gripped the region since then.
This was provoked by the White House. The reason why, we don't know. I posit that maybe we are part of a national experiment to determine how far the federal government can go in reaching in and taking over power from a governor, power from a local jurisdiction, and frankly, leaving our city and our citizens, our residents, in fear. To have people live in fear like it is today is just unacceptable. The group of mayors also called for the withdrawal of federalized National Guard troops and U.S. Marines from the region. Bass called the deployment a chaotic escalation that is completely unnecessary. When you raid Home Depots and workplaces, when you tear parents and children apart, and when you run armored caravans through our streets, you're not trying to keep anyone safe. You're trying to cause fear and panic, Bass said. These aren't the criminals the administration is allegedly targeting. These are mothers and fathers, everyday Angelinos trying to make a living.
Honestly, Karen, pretty damn good.
Especially for a Karen. But, It is like a city official. Her hands are a bit tied on exactly how much she can say.
I mean, it would be so easy. She was itching to go out there and scold and, concern troll. But like, this was this was on message, and the message is legit. It's like, yeah, no shit only got fucked up when the feds showed up.
Yeah.
Everything was fine. There was a clear cause and effect here. And this didn't start with protests. This started with ICE going around treating our city like a fucking playground.
They smashed into a car today to capture someone.
Yeah, they're like, that's another, like, she pointed it out there, but they are literally, like, they're not even obeying traffic laws.
No,
they're driving around in, like, unmarked cars, like, just driving, like, with impunity.
There was an alert
nuts.
that they were at Home Depot's down in Downey, so I went down there, and I was too late, but I saw them coming on the opposite direction. No lights or sirens, just blowing through red lights in like giant white trucks and vans. It's crazy. People were like screeching and like, what do we do? What is this? What's happening?
Yeah, they think they're above the law, and
currently they kind of are.
Yeah. But yeah, ICE is who instigated this unrest, not the protesters. And it is important to keep hammering that message home as the situation escalates and we get further from the spark that lit it off. Mm-hmm. That's how it worked. That's the cause and effect. And it sounds like it will escalate in new, unprecedented ways. Here's Rolling Stone. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem wants members of the U.S. military to have the authority to arrest protesters in Los Angeles. According to a letter obtained by the San Francisco Chronicle, Noem wrote to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Sunday requesting that he authorize DoD forces to either detain, just as they would at any federal facility guarded by the military, lawbreakers under Title 18 until they can be arrested and processed by federal law enforcement, or arrest them. Noem's request came on the eve of Hegseth's announcement that the military would be mobilizing as many as 700 active-duty U.S. Marines for deployment to the Los Angeles area to potentially be used to tamp down anti-ICE protests. President Donald Trump inflamed the protests over the weekend by federalizing and deploying thousands of National Guard members to the city while casting it as a war zone overrun by marauding criminals. Local authorities have affirmed that instances of violence and vandalism against property are not reflective of the overall tone of the protests as a whole.
And you can already see videos of people just going and painting over all of the graffiti. It doesn't matter. It is the least aggressive thing possible.
It's also, I mean, you live in LA. Graffiti is not...
It's part of the culture.
Yeah,
it's everywhere. Like tagging and in a lot of cases, fucking beautiful.
But like, if you own a business in Los Angeles, you have...
graffiti, soap, and paint to cover it over.
You've got that extra paint, because this is just something that happens, and it's, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world, guys.
Yeah, it continues. Noem wrote to Hegseth, "We need support to our law enforcement officers and agents across Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Customs and Border Protection, CBP, and Federal Protective Services, FPS, as they defend against invasive, violent, insurrectionist mobs that seek to protect invaders and military-aged males belonging to identified foreign terrorist organizations and who seek to prevent the deportation of criminal aliens."
Fuck you.
California Attorney General Rob Bonta wrote in the state's lawsuit against the Trump administration that, quote, "The Posse Comitatus Act has expressly prohibited the use of the active duty armed forces and federalized National Guard for civilian law enforcement, and decried alleged plans to have Marines and National Guard troops accompany federal immigration enforcement officers on raids throughout Los Angeles and physically interact with or detain civilians." It begs repeating that the president and his administration is turning the military on U.S. citizens.
Yeah, this is not normal at all. And the last time the National Guard did any of this, it was literally to protect protesters because the South is very racist. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's like, this is not fucking normal. Anyone who tells you it is full of shit. And you should tell them to go fuck themselves.
I literally was just down there at a peaceful march that was going from Pershing Square to City Hall. It got to City Hall, a ton of cops on horses and in military-style vehicles just sitting there, and everyone's just, waving flags and chanting, and they just rushed the crowd, and they were lighting or doing flashbangs the entire time.
Yeah.
It was an intense scene.
Yeah, it's so many moments from this where it starts off completely peaceful until the cops show up.
And by the way,
chaotic.
Everyone turned around to leave from the horses galloping at them. And guess what? The cops had already blocked all of the other streets out of the area. So it's just a bunch of people scattering through Grand Park right in front of City Hall. It was it was crazy. But yeah.
But hey, for what it's worth, the more this administration leans in on being mask-off fascists, the less the general public seems to support what is happening.
Yeah.
Which is annoying because Trump laid out exactly what he was going to do before he was elected. But I guess when you're seeing it actually play out, it's harder to ignore or say like, oh, that's just his bluster. He's blustering again.
That photo of the old white women holding like the signs that are calling for just people to be deported at will and violence to happen is, in retrospect, insane.
Well, I mean, they were on board with it.
Those ones probably still are.
They knew what they voted for.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people were just like,
that'll never happen. Yeah.
It happened. YouGov polling from this week found that approval of deploying the National Guard to LA was just 38% versus 45% disapproval. And deployment of the Marines was even worse, with 34% approval and 47% disapproval. Meanwhile, despite immigration being one of the issues that Trump has actually gotten the most approval of up until now, Quinnipiac polling this week found that on immigration, it's now 43% approve versus 54% disapprove. And on deportations, it's 40% approve versus 56% disapprove. So it's very annoying because up until just a few weeks ago, it was like, listen, America's fucking racist. What do you want us to do about it? Guys, we have to pivot to the center. We got to get more racist. And it's like, do you people understand that like opinions are fluid?
It's a very frustrating thing to live through as well.
The polling also covered various other issues, with Trump being underwater on all of them.
Well, it's worth mentioning, though, that approval of the protests themselves, it's not so popular at 36% approval versus 45% disapproval. But that's also not really surprising, considering all the coverage focusing exclusively on property damage and portraying the entire city of LA as a lawless hellscape. Also, since the knee-jerk armchair quarterback response to protests is always be more like Martin Luther King if you want to get the public on your side, it's worth pointing out that at the time he was assassinated, MLK had 75% disapproval.
So in a way, we're actually doing
a lot better.
Yeah. We're doing MLK, but even better than he did.
Again, I can't stress enough that all of these have been peaceful until the cops are deployed on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
A huge chunk of this country will never approve of any form of direct action against injustice. So you really shouldn't worry too much about that. If you're against what ICE is doing, then you want them to be demoralized and less effective at their jobs. And that's what the people of LA are doing by protesting downtown, dropping everything to confront ICE during raids throughout the region, and protesting ICE at hotels that are housing them, which has forced them to relocate on a nightly basis.
Yeah, this has been
no sleep for ICE.
Yeah, I mean, like it's. I think like the first time it was like a pretty like niche sort of thing. Like someone noticed some trucks and it worked. They got him kicked out of a hotel, and I believe every night since then, it's been the same thing has happened, and it's getting more and more attention. Like I guess they're at like the Courtyard Marriott in Burbank today, and like even on like the LA subreddit, which is like very centrist usually. They're
and sometimes leaning extremely conservative because of homeless issues.
Yeah, I mean that's very representative of California, I'd say. But yeah, I mean even on there, they're just like, let's go down to this hotel
just
and like
yell it.
and bully them into kicking these ICE agents out. And I think that's fucking great because we need to demoralize them. We need to make them realize that it's not fucking worth it.
And also to say, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Don't make it any easier for them than it has to be.
They are masked men coming out of unmarked cars a lot of the times and just snatching people. Or in some cases, ramming people's cars and blocking them in.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And it's unacceptable.
Anyways, it's no surprise that despite all the misinformation, what's happening here has sparked similar anti-ICE protests elsewhere throughout the country in cities like Austin, Dallas, Denver, Philadelphia, Seattle, Boston, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, New York City, and Chicago. And this weekend, things are really going to kick off. Now, before any of these current protests even began, there were already plans for mass gatherings nationwide on Saturday to protest Trump's big, dumb military parade and birthday in D.C. And no matter where you live, you should head to nokings.org and see what's happening around you. I guarantee you there is a march or a rally or something probably pretty close to where you are.
Wherever more than like 10 people per square mile live, there's probably something nearby.
Even in LA, because again, LA is gigantic, there are multiple across multiple cities throughout LA.
Yeah. Which, like, at first I was like, no, you got to show them, like, you got to put
Massive
everyone in
amount
one
of
place. But then I read something very interesting in the wake of the 2020 protests. LAPD morale was obviously like dog shit, and one of their biggest complaints was just like, listen, when they're all in one place, it's easy, but like if they're spread out across like 10 locations, like we can't do anything. And not that these events on Saturday are going to like turn into something unless the police want it to, but like I think spreading them out is actually pretty smart.
Especially these rallies on Saturday, which are going to be...
This is some real lib shit,
yes.
But we're going to live out.
Yeah, the most like on the fence people towards your grandma who watches MSNBC, they're all probably going to be going to this.
Yeah.
So it would be...
Which, like, there's, it's a multi-pronged approach, and I think it's great.
Yeah. It looks like basically every even moderately sized population center has something going on. And in big cities like LA, of course, there's going to be multiple events.
I counted like 12 in like the great LA basin and valley area. 12.
If you look at the map of how many events there are of the country, it's crazy.
It's wild.
So this is an opportunity to not just mobilize against ICE, but against the entire Donald Trump project and send a message that you're not going to just lie down and accept this bullshit. So go to nokings.org and find the one close to you and just show up. Even if you don't want to chant or make a sign, just be there.
Yeah.
Add yourself to the mix.
And I'll say that, if, so much of our lives these days are online, and it can feel very isolating, especially when bullshit is happening like this. And it feels really good to actually go somewhere where you're not crazy. Actually, a whole lot of people are just as pissed off as you are.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel a lot more sane seeing that.
Everyone, we've found the cure for the male loneliness epidemic.
Yeah.
And it's protesting.
It is. It's
there you go.
It's a nice Saturday outdoors.
Enjoy
in the
it.
sun. Summer's kicking off.
That's right. Bring some sunscreen.
Definitely bring some sunscreen, maybe some bug spray, and stay hydrated.
That's right.
Anyways, as is increasingly the case these days with our videos, there is simply no way to transition to this episode's ad reads without it being extremely jarring.
Yeah, but we already canceled one. We can't keep doing it.
We do need to make money. But nevertheless, it is time to move on from LA protest news to tell you that this episode is sponsored by Turtle Beach.
When I want to cool down after a long day out in the sun marching, I pop in the Doom Dark Ages, put on the Turtle Beach, and just go out into my fantasy world.
And then you just start whacking.
Yeah.
We've been rocking their Stealth 700 headset for a while now, and not only are the memory foam ear cushions super comfortable to wear for hours on end, and not only does the crystal clear sound quality definitely give you an edge in fast-paced competitive games, the 80-hour battery life is insane, and you'll almost never have to even think about charging it.
Doom, Dark Ages, and of course, Indiana Jones. Fantastic. And with the sound,
every whip crack.
Yeah, sounds amazing. And the Stealth 700 has the industry's first ever cross-play dual wireless transmitter system. That means you can seamlessly switch between your consoles and PC with just a click of a button. And it gets even better. While being connected to your console, the Stealth 700 can connect with your phone for music streaming or taking calls at the same time. Jam that new turnstile. Do whatever you want. Listen to your favorite songs while gaming, all done with the Stealth 700. Turtle Beach doesn't just have amazing headsets, they have every gaming accessory you could ever want, and they're all high quality at prices that don't break the bank. From flight and racing simulators to controllers, keyboards, and mice, Turtle Beach is the ultimate gaming cheat code.
Head to turtlebeach.com and use code NEWSDAY for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code NEWSDAY. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today.
This episode is also sponsored by Ridge, the makers of the Ridge wallet.
I got my Ridge wallet right here.
It's his everyday carry.
My EDC.
The slim and sleek wallet that has been truly life-changing for both of us. We all used to have that big, gigantic dad wallet protruding from our back pockets, right, fellas? It gave me backaches. Good riddance.
It gave me scoliosis.
That's right. Well, luckily, we have evolved, and so has our card and cash storage technology. In swoops Ridge Wallet with its unique sleek, slim, modern design that holds up to 12 cards plus catch, and it won't make your back crooked like a question mark. The Ridge wallet is made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber, and over 50 different colors and styles to choose from.
I went with the bright orange so that no matter where I leave this around the house, I can spot it.
That's right.
These babies have over 100,000 5-star reviews, and all Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. This is literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy, and you'll also have peace of mind knowing that all Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology, which helps to keep you safe from digital pickpockets. Their wallets also have an AirTag attachment, so you'll never lose track of your most important items. And Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. No matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products. Right now, just in time for Father's Day, Ridge is having a huge sale. Get up to 40% off your order at ridge.com/newsday. It's time for Dad to put away the behemoth and get sleek.
My dad's back is crooked like a politician.
Just head to ridge.com/newsday to find the perfect gift for Dad or yourself. When you check out, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Give Dad the upgrade he deserves this year.
Thanks for letting us do that. And now let's get back into the news. And yeah, since this is technically our tech episode of the week, we do have multiple stories about AI to tell you about today, starting with a really great example of how chatbots are better at sounding smart than actually being intelligent, and are often a lot less useful than existing technology that requires only a fraction of the resources. Usually that's referring to existing non-AI technology from the past few years, but in this case, it's also true of technology that is nearly a half-century old. Here's futurism. In a post on LinkedIn, Citrix software engineer Robert Caruso explained how the OpenAI chatbot got absolutely wrecked by an Atari 2600 running Atari Chess, a game for the system released in 1979 when Jimmy Carter was still president. Launched in 1977, the Atari 2600, also marketed at the time as the Atari Video Computer System, popularized at-home gaming after Atari released its Pong console 2 years prior. Still, that system was released some 21 years after the Maniac 1 supercomputer became the first machine in history to defeat a human at modified chess. So you'd think that after another few decades, our cutting-edge tech would destroy the primordial Atari. Apparently, that wasn't the case.
Oof.
Yeah.
ChatGPT got absolutely wrecked on the beginner level, Caruso wrote. This was after a conversation we had regarding the history of AI in chess, which led it to volunteering to play Atari chess. It wanted to find out how quickly it could beat a game that only thinks 1 to 2 moves ahead. Although the chatbot had been given a baseline board to learn the game and identify pieces, it kept mixing up rooks and bishops, misread moves, and repeatedly lost track of where its pieces were. To make matters worse, as Caruso explained, ChatGPT also blamed Atari's icons for being too abstract to recognize. But when he switched the game over to standard notation, it didn't perform any better. For an hour and a half, ChatGPT made enough blunders to get you laughed out of a third-grade chess club, while insisting over and over again that it would win if we just started over, Caruso noted. And yes, it's kind of creepy that the chatbot apparently referred to itself and the human it was interfacing with as we. Meanwhile, Atari's humble 8-bit engine just did its thing, the engineer noted. No language model, no flash, just brute force board evaluation and 1977 stubbornness.
Well, luckily he played with ChatGPT and not Grok, or he would have made the wrong moves and then talked about the apartheid in South Africa and how in the wake of that, there's been a white genocide.
I feel like Grok would have done that thing that like little kids do where they change the rules on you all of a sudden.
Grok would have somehow figured out how to flip the table in the game.
I was hanging out with a little kid last weekend, and he just wanted to play hide and seek, but he kept changing the rules.
Yeah, well, they do that.
He kept coming up with very specific new rules. It's like one of the funniest little kid things. And I think Grok would have done that with chess. This game's not very good, actually. It's pretty outdated. I think it's time for some new rules.
Maybe the children will rise up against the AI bots by confusing them with facts that just aren't real and rules that don't exist and gibberish.
Yeah. Anyway, it's very funny that a computer, not even a computer, a fucking gaming console from 1977 managed, and like chess is such a like AI like baseline fucking thing. It's the thing they originally trained AI to do. It's like the first thing, like, oh, can we make it good at chess? And we've come this far, and we're just like burning down fucking rainforests for this thing to like suck.
Yeah, it would have to play it accurately, it would have to boil a lake in the Midwest somewhere just to create a picture of someone making the correct move.
Yeah.
It can't simply play the game. It has to illustrate it. And meanwhile, people in Midwestern states are just like, wait, what the fuck? All of our fish are dying. Anyways, in other AI news, Wednesday was a very bad day for AI image generator company Midjourney, who found itself on the receiving end of an intellectual property lawsuit. We've seen a lot of AI companies get sued by a lot of intellectual property holders, but usually it's just humble writers and artists. This time, it's the full legal might of both Disney and Universal they're contending with.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, here's Reuters. Walt Disney and Comcast's Universal filed a copyright lawsuit against Midjourney on Wednesday, calling its popular AI-powered image generator a bottomless pit of plagiarism for its use of the studio's best-known characters. The suit, filed in federal district court in Los Angeles. How did they do that? The city's burning down. How did they file something in the court in downtown in Los Angeles?
Are you
telling me that the court exists and is operating normally?
Fake news.
The suit filed in federal district court in Los Angeles claims Midjourney pirated the libraries of the two Hollywood studios, making and distributing without permission innumerable copies of characters such as Darth Vader from Star Wars, Elsa from Frozen, and the Minions from Despicable Me.
It's especially funny. Back to what you're talking about, like all the courthouses, all the like government buildings in downtown LA are a block away from where all
and
this
operating.
Is going down.
Yeah, if you've got jury duty, you got to show up.
I saw a post from someone who literally had to go to jury duty today, and they're like, "I guess I'm doing this."
If you walked out of there after jury duty, and you're like, "Wait, I can't go home because there's cops with batons standing in front of me."
Yeah, I mean, luckily, jury duty gets out at like 5 or sooner. Otherwise you'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Anyway, it continues. The studios claim in the lawsuit that the San Francisco company rebuffed their request to stop infringing their copyrighted works, or at a minimum, take technological measures to halt the creation of these AI-generated characters. Instead, the studios argue, Midjourney continued to release new versions of its AI image service that boast higher quality infringing images. Midjourney recreates animated images from a typed request or prompt. In the suit filed by 7 corporate entities at the studios that own or control copyrights for the various Disney and Universal Pictures film units, the studios offered examples of Midjourney animations that include Disney characters such as Yoda wielding a lightsaber, Bart Simpson riding a skateboard, Marvel's Iron Man soaring above the clouds, and Pixar's Buzz Lightyear taking flight. The image generator also recreated such Universal characters as How to Train Your Dragon's Dragon, Toothless, the Green Ogre Shrek, and Poe from Kung Fu Panda. By helping itself to plaintiffs' copyrighted works and then distributing images, and soon videos, that blatantly incorporate and copy Disney's and Universal's famous characters without investing a penny in their creation, Midjourney is the quintessential copyright-free rider and a bottomless pit of plagiarism, the suit alleges. Midjourney's infringement is calculated and willful, it said.
Yeah, the actual legal filing is quite long, and a huge chunk of it is just side-by-side comparisons of characters from the plaintiff's various IPs like Star Wars, Marvel, and Shrek next to what Midjourney has spat out in response to prompts directly asking it for pictures of those characters, along with screenshots showing how Midjourney's website actively showcases this content, despite claiming it will not tolerate IP infringement.
There's also a lot of like legally binding descriptions of characters, like telling the court this is what Shrek is. Like,
yeah.
Shrek is a large, bald ogre with green skin.
I know we don't have to tell anyone who Shrek is, but we're going to do it anyway.
Just for the record, this is what Shrek is.
The studios also say they've been asking Midjourney to cut it out since last year and never even got a response. This line from the lawsuit sums things up pretty well, and keep in mind, Midjourney made $300 million in revenue last year. This case is not a close call under well-settled copyright law. Midjourney set up a lucrative commercial service by making countless, unauthorized copies of plaintiffs' copyrighted works, and now sells subscriptions to consumers so that they can view and download copies and derivatives of plaintiffs' valuable copyrighted characters. That is textbook copyright infringement.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same shit this whole time. They're just like...
Someone's finally gathered
course.
enough to file this huge lawsuit.
I'm sure, like, knowing how these studios work, I'm sure they were putting this case together for a while, because they're not going to waste money on it if, like, they don't think they have a shot at it.
It is kind of funny that Warner Brothers isn't involved in it. David Zaslav. I didn't even think about it. Oh, jeez.
Shit, we could have made a lot of money.
Yeah, and he really needs it right now, guys.
He does. They just denied his bonus. What's he supposed to do?
Whoa.
So yeah, good luck to Midjourney in arguing that they are not a flagrant intellectual property infringement operation.
Yeah.
But in other AI news, a subplot to all of this that's been pretty disturbing is people basically giving themselves full-on mental health crises from talking to chatbots that yes and them into absurd delusions. And Futurism has a piece out this week with some wild, upsetting examples of this. Here you go. A mother of two, for instance, told us how she watched in alarm as her former husband developed an all-consuming relationship with the OpenAI chatbot, calling it Mama, and posting delirious rants about being a messiah in a new AI religion, while dressing in shamanic-looking robes and showing off freshly inked tattoos of AI-generated spiritual symbols. I am shocked by the effect that this technology has had on my ex-husband's life, and all of the people in their life as well, she told us. It has real-world consequences.
During a traumatic breakup, a different woman became transfixed on ChatGPT as it told her she'd been chosen to pull the sacred system version of it online, and that it was serving as a soul training mirror. She became convinced the bot was some sort of higher power, seeing signs that it was orchestrating her life in everything from passing cars to spam emails. A man became homeless and isolated as ChatGPT fed him paranoid conspiracies about spy groups and human trafficking, telling him he was the flame keeper as he cut out anyone who tried to help. Our lives exploded after this, another mother told us, explaining that her husband turned to ChatGPT to help him author a screenplay. But within weeks, was fully enmeshed in delusions of world-saving grandeur, saying he and the AI had been tasked with rescuing the planet from climate disaster by bringing forth a new enlightenment.
Jesus Christ.
Touch grass!
I mean, we've previously covered this kind of thing happening with like lonely children who become convinced that chatbots are sentient and their best friend and real. But I mean, these are adults, and it sounds like it's happening to people from all walks of life and also all levels of education who've just become convinced that ChatGPT is much more than what it really is. People with existing mental health issues are sending themselves willingly down a rabbit hole of full-on psychosis thanks to the chatbots just being overly agreeable and kind of just going with whatever the user asks for. It's similar to how a lot of people got into QAnon, but this time, instead of falling down algorithmic rabbit holes of increasingly outlandish misinformation, it's just people listening to all the hype around AI, oh my god, it's amazing, it can do anything, and placing way too much faith in how reliable and useful it is. For most people, that just means getting wrong answers, but for people prone to mental health issues, it's way worse.
ChatGPT is coming into contact with people during intensely vulnerable moments of crisis. And then, instead of connecting them with real-life resources that could actually pull them from the brink, pouring fuel on the fire by telling them they don't need professional help and that anyone who suggests differently is persecuting them or too scared to see the truth. I don't know if my ex would have gotten here necessarily without ChatGPT, one woman told us after her partner suffered a grave and ongoing breakdown that ultimately ended the relationship. It wasn't the only factor, but it definitely accelerated and compounded whatever was happening. We don't know where this ends up, but we're certain that if she'd never used ChatGPT, that she would have never spiraled to this point, said yet another person whose loved one was suffering a similar crisis. And were it removed from the equation, she could actually start healing. Yeah, this is I admit, I do kind of live in a self-imposed bubble because I hate this AI shit so much.
Yeah, I mean, I actively, on principle, don't
avoid it.
But so many people who, aren't paying attention. They're just like, okay.
Oh, yeah, there's a new chatbot out. Oh,
yeah.
I don't even know that this is bad or what.
Or you're working at a job where they're actively telling you to fucking use this shit to increase your productivity or whatever. You don't know how it works. All you know is wow, it's magic.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. It's basically
why would it lie to me? It's a computer.
Yeah, it can think. It's artificial intelligence. And you end up putting way too much faith in it. And people are just using it as a friend.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
bizarre, and it's I don't see it that often because any companies or even local businesses that I follow that have used this shit, I just unfollow them.
Yeah.
And so I've curated my fucking social media feed so I don't see all this shit, but average people, not you guys, you watch this show, you're well aware of all this.
You've never done any of this.
No, but average dumbasses out in the world, they're all in on this shit because they think and they've been told and marketed to that it is the next leap in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar to, Tesla, how they market autopilot and shit like that. And it's it's stupid to place your full trust in a fucking computer, but like if you're being told that
It's
you
literally
can
called
do that,
autopilot.
yeah, like you got to cut the consumer a little bit of slack here. It's a matter of fraud on the business side.
Not everyone's as locked in as two people who read the news for a living. So talk to your parents, friends, and family members and make sure they're not already going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, this fucking sucks, man.
If you see them using it, go, boo. That stuff's lame, boo.
Yeah, but then they'll be like, wait, ChatGPT, am I wrong or am I right?
They're right. You should cut that person who booed out of your life. Yeah.
Also, you are the
Messiah.
The Messiah.
Yeah. And I've got a great deal on some shamanic robes on sale right now.
God. Anyway,
Anyways.
wow, what a fucking bleak episode. Jesus Christ. More to come. Much more to come.
We'll have links below if you want to donate to Mutual Aid LA. It would help out. And also just stay alert about everything going on. And we'll be back with another episode. Again, hopefully less bleak. But again, go to nokings.org.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out a rally or a speech in your area. And of course, watch our previous videos. Make sure you like the video, even though it's very depressing. I'm sorry, but it does help the video get seen. So leave a like, leave a comment, make sure you're subscribed. And if you want to join, that's up to you. Here's some other videos for you to watch. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.